And my last time that I have to do that. Would you rise, please, for pledge and
Invocation. So you want to do the invocation first? Okay.
Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for your blessings, both the simple and the monumental. May you always give us the vision and conviction to do what you lead us to believe is right, even though it may differ among us. Remind us in your way always to respect and appreciate the privilege we have been given to represent our neighbors. As always, we ask for your continued guidance, not just for the 9 of us commissioners here in this current commission, but for the governmental body of the Grand Traverse Board of Commissioners and its employees as it serves its residents through time. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you. Would you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Stepka?
Here.
Richardson?
Here.
Inman?
Here.
Hooper?
Here.
Friend?
Here.
Fleece?
Present.
Thomas?
Here.
And Max Bauer is excused.
Thank you. Oh, we can proceed as soon as I get my glasses on. Approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the minutes of the November 23rd regular board meeting as mailed.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Minutes are approved. First public comment. Would you read the rules, please?
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. 1. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. 2. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. Chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak.
Having heard the rules, who would like to be the first to speak? Anyone? Yes, sir.
My name is Reverend Eugene Bond. I live at 400 Heartland Drive, Traverse City, Michigan, Blair Township. My concern is I would like to remain on the Commission on Aging Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Going, gone. We will now close public comment. Approval agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we have the County Administrator Dennis Aloya evaluation summary available to the commissioners to hand out. So we need to put that under notices or announcements or whatever. I don't know, or under new business. And then you have Commissioner Wheelock has an item.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to just add, and on your desk this evening is just a brief overview of a discussion that I, Commissioner Fleece, and Commissioner Richardson had with the district and circuit court and probate judges in regard to co-paying their health insurance. And I'd just like to have just a moment to speak to that too, if we could.
Now, are we just going to discuss it or take action?
I think we probably just need to ratify that discussion.
Then we'll be taking action. Okay. Let's put them both under new business.
Okay.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended with the 2 items.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. We've got an agenda. The next is special order of business, presentation of plaques and certificates.
You want to go for your 3 first?
And,
You want to go get your 3? Then I'll do mine.
whatever, I don't have any certificates.
No, you have right here. the
All
3
I have
plaques.
is these 3.
Yes, that's what you have.
Yep. Okay. They all say the same thing, so I'm only going to read one of them. First one is to Beth Friend, Commissioner from 2009-2010, presented this day of December, the 29th day of December, in appreciation for your service, leadership, and participation.
All right.
Who's this next one? Oh, here come the judge. Yours says the same thing.
Mike Stepka.
Thank you. So, we got one left.
Where's it at?
Oh, if you want your bags back to take them home with?
Yeah, so I don't get scratched up. Sure.
Yeah. The third one is to Bruce Hooper. This says the same thing.
Congratulations on your service.
Yeah. Give them all a bag. You don't get free things out of the county very often.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I can have the floor for a second. As it is in the past customs of the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners to acknowledge the service of our outgoing commissioners, and tonight we have three of them: Commissioner Stepka, Commissioner Friend, and Commissioner Hooper. We also acknowledge and thank the current chairman for the past 2 years, 2009-2010, Dick Thomas, Commissioner Dick Thomas, for your leadership as chairman of the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners for 2009 and 2010. Truly, your wisdom, knowledge, efforts, dry sense of humor on most occasions that got us through meetings are greatly appreciated throughout the past 2 years. And please accept this chairman's gavel as a token of our appreciation for all your hard work and service over the past 2 years.
Well, the nice thing about getting this at the end, I didn't have to use it all for 2 years, but the best part is from now on, I can just sit back here and heckle. Thank you.
And in honor of you, we're approving cat licenses.
Yes.
Hey,
Other sets of dry humor.
there's more and more people want them every day.
Yep.
All right. Consent calendar.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. Receive and file, number 1, letter to Chairman Thomas and Commissioners regarding Commission on Aging appointments. Number 2, letter from Peninsula Township regarding Phragmites treatment. Number 3, letter from Grant Township regarding solid waste. Number 4, Lake County resolution in support of House Bill 6535. Number 5, Van Buren County resolution regarding memorandum number 16. Number 6, Grand Traverse County Department of Human Services minutes April through October 2010. Number 7, CRA minutes of September 16th, 2010. Number 8, Sewer and Water Special Meeting minutes of September 27th, 2010. Number 9, Special Joint Sewer and Water and BPW Meeting minutes of September 27th, 2010. Number 10, Sewer and Water Committee Meeting minutes of October 14th, 2010. Number 11, Joint Sewer and Water and BPW Meeting minutes of October 25th, 2010. Number 12, Special Joint Sewer and Water and BPW Meeting minutes of October 27th, 2010. Number 13, G5 Subcommittee Meeting minutes of 11/1/2010. Number 14, Commission on Aging minutes of November 2nd, 2010. Number 15, Area Agency on Aging minutes of November 4th, 2010. Number 16, Commission on Aging minutes of November 8th, 2010. Number 17, Conservation District minutes of November 8th, 2010. Number 18, Sewer and Water Committee minutes of November 10th, 2010. Number 19, Board of Public Works minutes of November 22nd, 2010. Number 20, Conservation Resource Alliance minutes of November 24th, 2010. Number 21, Ways and Means Committee minutes of November 17th, 2010. Number 22, Public Health and Safety Committee draft minutes of December 1st, 2010. Number 23, Resource Management and Administration Committee draft minutes of December 8th, 2010. Number 24, Ways and Means Committee draft minutes of December 15th, 2010. Referrals, none. Approvals. Public Health and Safety Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 25, Sheriff's Office, Surplus Property Declaration and Disposition. Number 26, Request for Bids, Police Vehicles. Number 27, Health Department Dental Services Agreement, Amendment Number 13. Number 28, Health Department Women's Health Nurse Practitioner Agreement. Number 29, Environmental Health Fees for 2011. Number 30, Digital Dictation Bids. Resource Management and Administration Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 31, Employee Assistance Program Contract Renewal for 2011. Number 32, Teamsters Local 214 Health Department Bargaining Unit. Number 33, Teamsters Local Central Dispatch Bargaining Unit. Number 34, Staffing Plan Amendment, MSU Extension. Number 35, Staffing Plan Amendment due to approval of 2011 budget. Number 36, Staffing Plan Amendment, Circuit Court Administration. Number 37, Classification Plan Amendment, Circuit Court Deputy Court Administrator. Ways and Means Committee recommends approval of the following resolutions. Number 38, Increase Road Commissioner membership. Number 39, Appointment of additional road commissioners. Number 40, ESRI GIS Software Support Maintenance Renewal. Number 41, Travel Policy Addendum 2011. Number 42, Letter of Agreement Circuit Court Supervisors. Number 43, Approval to appoint a Solid Waste Planning Committee and create escrow account. Number 44, Resolution authorizing prepayment of rent to permit redemption of the Grand Traverse County Building Authority bonds prior to maturity. Number 45, Resolution authorizing refunding of the Grand Traverse County Traverse City Wastewater Treatment Plant Upgrade 2002 project bonds. Number 46, Budget adjustments. Number 47, Interim Intergovernmental Agreement for Senior Center Management. Number 48, Mobile Command Trailer. Number 49, Implementation of Long-Term Disability for Non-Contract Employee Groups. Number 50, PSIC Dispatch Grant Match. Number 51, Approval and Submission of Applications for 2% Grant Funding. Ad hoc Committee Recommendations. Number 52, Appointments to Boards and Committees. Number 53, Resolution to establishment policy and procedures for appointments to boards, commissions, committees, and authorities. Additional consent calendar items. Number 54, implementation of long-term disability for AFSCME, Teamsters District Court, and Teamsters General Bargaining Units. Number 55, Command Officers Association of Michigan Supervisory Unit Agreement. Number 56, Technical Professional and Office Workers Association of Michigan Central Records Bargaining Unit Agreement. Number 57, Staffing Plan Amendment, Finance.
I think Bonnie should get a plaque for that.
Wow.
Thank you. You did all the work here tonight. You've heard the consent calendar. Does anybody in the public want anything removed?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have 52 pulled.
Already had it marked. Any others?
Mr. Chair, oh, from the public, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now the board. Yes, sir.
Can I pull item 53 so it can, I guess, go with the discussion about the criminal background check for potential appointees? We'll just do both at the same time.
Okay. Anybody else? Beth?
38 and 39.
What was that?
38 and 39.
Are we going to have any left?
Slots left.
Okay. Sonny?
On your desk, you've got a correction for the travel policy addendum because it was typed, it would change from 51 cents to 51 cents. It actually changes from 50 cents to 51 cents. And so the new one is in there. I guess I would like to pull the resolution in regard to refunding the Grand Traverse County, Traverse City wastewater treatment plant, primarily because of the fact that with the interest rates, the dollar amounts have changed that we're estimating that the savings were going to be. Although this is not a county savings, this board still needs to
That's-
recognize the savings.
That's 45.
That would be number 45.
Anyone else? I'd like to pull 47. Okay.
Jim.
Yeah. His name?
Mr. Chairman, I would,
Hold on, mister. Your name, please?
Jim McGee.
Jim McGee. You had one?
No, I just wanted to
Okay.
mention the other one.
Is that it?
So just clarification, we're not pulling 41, we're just noting that there was a
Noting the
change in
change
the number
in
from
the
50
printing.
cents to 51, and that's on everybody's desk.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the consent calendar with the exception of items 38, 39, 45, 47, 52, and 53.
Support.
Support by Richardson. By roll call vote?
Commissioner Stepka?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Hooper?
Yes.
Friend?
Yes.
Fleece?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas?
Yes. Thank you. On to the administrator's report.
Mr. Chairman, these are all deans, so that's my Christmas present to you. I'm not going to say another word.
They're all what?
Deans.
I doubt that very much, but
We don't believe him either.
Old Santa.
starting with the first item is just a housekeeping item. The lease purchase agreement with the road commission posed a little bit of an accounting issue between us and the road commission, and what I'm explaining here is how we dealt with that in our 2009 audit report. But what's most important is that for the county financial statement as a whole, the intent of that agreement is being followed. We have a receivable on our books, and they have a payable on their books, and they are making the quarterly payments as per the terms of the agreement. So rather than change the agreement, it was a 3-year agreement, I just wanted to report to the board that the accounting is just a little bit different than the actual agreement between the parties.
Okay.
Unless there are any questions on that, the next item on page 2 are budget adjustments that I'm recommending we make at this time. They're in addition to the ones that Bonnie included on our consent calendar from Ways and Means, and I have provided a summary of those on the first page, followed by the actual budget amendments. The one that I would like to talk about just a little bit is the second one, the OPEB appropriation. This is our, OPEB stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits. We pay health benefits for retirees, whether it's a half-paid health or some of the contracts have a health benefit that's provided or paid for retirees to their Medicare eligibility date. We are on a pay-as-you-go plan. We budget $100,000 for the group of retirees that do not have this benefit per their per a collective bargaining agreement. And all the other folks, there are 7 bargaining units that have some type of OPEB benefit, and the $150,000 that we budget in total is not enough to cover that cost. We have the $100,000 for the general retiree group, and our actual costs for the other bargaining units and the benefits is $85,000 for 2010. So I needed an additional $40,000 to cover that cost, and I was taking that from, it's the item on the middle of the page, on page 3. It's covered primarily from the board's contingency account, $33,000, almost $34,000 and then the balance from contract services within the Human Resources Department. I thought that was one that I needed to explain in greater detail.
Dean, could you talk about the senior assistance one again under Commission on Aging?
Georgia is here, and she can probably answer this more. Based on the request for senior assistance, it was necessary to increase that appropriation. This is a item and expenditure within the Commission on Aging Fund, and I think it's just based on, you know, the actual demand for assistance. There are sufficient funds within the Commission on Aging to cover that, and that item is on page 4. It's the last adjustment, and this was approved by the Commission on Aging Board as well. It did result in an increase in their fund balance, but a very small increase in fund balance based on their fund balance that they're carrying.
It's for like emergency heating and things like that to assist people, especially in this economy.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the budget adjustments as outlined by the Finance Director.
Support. Moved and supported. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Carried.
The next item on page 6 is a quarterly appropriation request. This is a budgeted amount for the Grand Traverse Conservation District. I ask for your approval on that.
Motion to approve the appropriation request of the Conservation District.
Support.
Support by Felice. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carried.
Our claims for the month of December are the next item. Then you'll be done with me, I think. The total claims for the month of December adjusted for the STEPCA and APREA claims are $8,239,967.82. Slightly, these are higher than a normal month because of the additional payrolls that we have, the personal day payout and the longevity pays that are paid the first pay period in December.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the claims less the STEPCA APREA claims in an amount of $8,239,967.82.
Support.
Moved and supported by Felice. Discussion? By roll call vote?
Yeah, no, best friend.
I just have a quick question for Dennis. I was just curious on that personal day. I was looking at that 478,000. Did we know this year on average how many personal days you're paying out?
No, I don't know that, but I can get that for the board for next month. I mean, you can watch it on TV. No, I don't know what it was this year.
I was just curious.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't hear from
Okay, that's fine,
Jen.
because we had talked about that earlier
Yep.
in the year. So,
Yep.
thank you.
Anybody else? By roll call vote?
Richardson,
Yes.
Inman,
Yes.
Hooper,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Fleece,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Stepka,
Yes.
Thomas.
Now the step. and-
Mr. Chairman,
claim?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the STEPCA APREA claims of 1852.62.
Support.
Moved and supported. Anybody got any questions about it? By roll call vote?
Inman,
Yes.
Hooper,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Fleece,
Yes.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Stepka,
Abstain.
Richardson,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes. Thank you. Now, we're back to the consent calendar.
Now we have to do the full claims? Did we do the full claims?
Yeah.
We did, oh, okay.
Oh, no.
I did,
Yeah,
we
that
did
was
the 8.
just this one right here.
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
We just did.
okay. Slept through it.
Okay, the first one is item 38, page 150. Who pulled that one?
Beth,
Beth pulled that.
3839.
Oh, okay. On the increasing the road commission membership, yeah, I support increasing the road commission membership from 3 to 5. However, I want to do so at limiting the cost to do that. One of the bases for doing that is because it's shown that the current road commission compensation is well above what would be considered competitive across the state. So I would move that we would approve the resolution with the addition of verbiage that says, and that the salary of these 2 additional commissioners will be the same as the current road commission for the member, vice chair, and chair, but that the health, dental, vision plans be available to them at their own cost, and all other fringe benefits be equal to the current road commission. As well, at the end of the current road commission terms, health, dental, vision only be available at the road commissioner's expense.
Do I hear support? I've got a question whether it's supported or not. I know that elected officials can't have their salary reduced during a term of office.
Oh, I wasn't doing anything during their term. It was at the end of their current term.
But you've got some that aren't ending. You've got some that aren't ending.
As they would end, you have to change them as they end, correct?
Yes, and I believe that that's what Commissioner Friend is proposing.
Right.
And I agree that that would be okay.
You don't have anything printed on this?
No, but I could reread that slowly for you if you'd like. I would, again, I'll restate the motion. To approve the resolution to increase the road commission membership with the additional verbiage at the end saying, and that the salary of these 2 additional road commissioners be the same of the current road commissioners for member, vice chair, and chair. And that the health, dental, vision plans be available to them at their own cost, and all other fringe benefits be equal to the current road commissioners. Additionally, at the end of the current road commission terms, health, dental, and vision be only available at the road commissioner's expense.
Okay, we have a motion. Anybody want to support it?
I'll support it.
Okay. Discussion? Sonny?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that we received letters from the Road Commission that they too supported in expanding the Road Commission to 5 members and stating that they would find funds available in their budget to pay for it. And I assume that included the fringe benefits. As your liaison to the Road Commission meetings, I have never heard any significant discussion with them that they couldn't support expanding it because they couldn't afford it.
Mr. Chairman, I will not be voting for this motion. They took the leadership on the present road commission to mirror what the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners did for the 2011 and 2012 election cycle, and that is to not offer the spouse coverage for that health care and also the family coverage, which is a substantial reduction in their overall compensation. And based on my past review of their compensation compared to other road commissioners within our population market, they fared on average both in compensation and benefits, so I will be voting no.
Please.
I would agree with Commissioner Inman, and I'll also be voting no.
Ross?
While I agree with the direction of the motion, we have 3 individuals that we are preparing to appoint. This was not part of the deal when they applied for the job, and I'm not sure, even though two of the 3, I believe, have stated that they would not take the health benefits, but I still don't think it's fair to basically change the rules in the middle of crossing the stream, as it were.
Good point.
Anyone else? Beth?
Actually, Russ, I don't think we would for those 3 individuals. The person that you'd be appointing that's going into Hooper's position, that is already set for that term, so we would not be changing that. It would be when his next term is up. And for the two that were going into the new position, those are the two that you mentioned that would not be receiving the health, dental, and vision. So you really wouldn't be changing anything for those people that are
That's
going
true,
into
because
those
we already appointed
positions.
Paul Brown, didn't we?
Well, they,
Anyone else?
well, I agree with Commissioner, at least at this moment, I agree with the comments by Commissioner Richardson that, you know, those individuals applied and understood the compensation at the time when we when we put the ad in the paper and we interviewed everyone. And we were so pleased with the quality of applicants that we, at the time that we held the public meeting, we decided to move forward with two other candidates that we had originally interviewed. So, to me, the deal is the same. They had knowledge of the responsibilities of the road commission and the compensation, and I think you would be changing the game.
Commissioner Inman, actually, you stated one of the reasons that you made the motion to appoint them was that they were specifically not going to be taking the health, dental, and vision. And so this would not, in effect, change their compensation package whatsoever.
Anyone else? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hooper?
No.
Friend?
Yes.
Fleece?
No.
Wheelock?
No.
Stepka?
Yes.
Richardson?
No.
Inman?
No.
Thomas? Motion failed.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the Grand Traverse County approves the increasing of the members serving on the County Board of Road Commissioners from 3 to 5 members.
Support.
Any discussion?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't vote for that because we'll be increasing it at minimal 25,000, which is about, 400 tons of salt. And if you look at, some of the 25% increases or even more in the fuel that they're going to be having to deal with, that can easily be translated into several miles. I did the math earlier. Heck, I don't even remember, it was so many miles. But we do have, at Bernice Bay Township, we have one of our members of the board attend the road commission meetings, and she mentioned to me that they are consistently talking about, where they're going to find the money for different items and expenditures. So I think that they could put that money to use. The argument that I've heard for increasing it to 5, although I do think it's better at 5, boards do operate with 3 boards. Metro did it for quite some time. As soon as we could change it, we did, but they operated with 3 and had an effective organization. The argument I hear is, though, that they have, an easier time with the Open Meetings Act. Well, you know what? We have 9 members, and we have our challenges, so I don't think that's a slam dunk.
Mr. Chairman, I think a 3-member board is just a difficult challenge functionally, not only with the issue of the Open Meetings Act, and no other road commissioner could speak to another road commissioner at any time regarding any issue, but I think we bring to the table more experience, more depth in qualifications, and I think there's a reason why the legislature set up and allowed boards and commissions to set up, districts. That was to allow not only geographical representation, which we tried to do during this appointment process, but also, a fair number of representative numbers bring different perspectives to a board. Different experiences, different leadership skills, communication skills, and I think that given the ongoing strategically long challenges of road commissions around the state, I think we would be best served with 5 rather than 3.
I guess to echo a little bit of what Larry just said, I think one of the things, and it's truly part of the next motion, was the discussion that the persons that we appointed to the road commission to expand it to 5, we did 2 things. We expanded our geographical representation. We brought a financial individual to help us with financial oversight of that board, and we brought an individual who has very strong ties to both the TC Talus organization and the Grand Vision. As we move forward and try to plan for this community's growth in the future, we need to look at both TC Talus and the Grand Vision, and one of these appointments is tied very strongly to that organization.
Isn't Maitland on Talus and the Grand Vision? I think he is.
I guess my biggest objection to this whole thing is that I didn't want to see it passed until we were able to make it elective by district, and of course, up till now, the state hasn't done their work to change the law, so I'm going along with it, even though I would rather see it go the other way, but I think our appointments are pretty well scattered around the county. But there may come a day when somebody's going to have to sit down and figure out what are we going to do about the districts, because we got two guys live in one, and they'll be running against each other, but hey, that would fall into the process of the election, so. Anybody else?
So the motion is to go from 3 to 5, is that
Yes.
correct? Okay, all right.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Roll call.
Commissioner Friend?
No.
Fleece?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Stepka?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Hooper?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes. Okay, the next one's on the next page. The appointments of the road commissioners. You had that pulled?
Actually, I did. You can go ahead and make, what I'd like to do is divide the resolution. So divide the resolution between the independent, there are 3 items here. I'd just like to divide them for the motion.
In other words, you want one to reappoint to appoint Brown, reappoint Taylor.
For different terms?
Yeah,
No.
we're talking about.
One for McKellar, one for Nelson, and then the other one to change the appointments to be
Yeah.
corrected to expire on January 1st. So three different resolutions.
2.
She wants to make 2 resolutions out of it.
It'd be 2.
It'd be 3.
Where's the third one?
One for McKellar, one
Oh.
for Nelson.
Oh, you want a separate vote on McKellar and-
Right.
and Nelson?
Right.
If you'd like to do that, make the motion.
Okay, I would move to approve the, well, how do you want to do this? We don't really approve the resolution now, do we? To approve the resolution to appoint Mark McKellar to the term ending January 1st, 2015.
Is there support?
Support?
Discussion?
I don't know why it makes a difference whether we split them or whether we vote them at one time, but
Wheelock. I don't either, but
Because I would,
we'll make her happy. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Carried.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to appoint John Nelson to the Road Commission for a term ending January 1st, 2017.
Support.
Supported by a whole
No,
gang here.
Richardson.
Okay.
Discussion?
Dick, just that, is my understanding is, and I checked the other day, that Mr. Nelson does not live on a county-maintained, winter or summer-maintained road, is that correct?
He lives in Garfield Township.
Neither
Right.
do I.
But in Inkachi Crest, where he lives, is not maintained summer or winter maintenance, and I just think I would prefer someone who has a little bit more direct impact affected by the County Road Commission.
That's the strangest argument.
You know, I
I've
could
ever
qualify
heard.
for the road commission, and I don't live on a maintained road either. I
private
maintained
drive's
it for,
unmaintained.
And
I
a
maintained it
private.
for 45 years.
In a private?
We have a motion to that.
So we have a
We got-
motion to approve Nelson?
Yeah, we have,
To approve and support? Okay, all right.
all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed, same?
Opposed?
You're opposed?
Yeah.
Roll call.
Fleece?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Stepka?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Hooper?
Yes.
Friend?
No.
Thomas?
Yes. Okay, the third one is for Carl Brown.
No, I think.
No,
the
he's
third
already
one is-
appointed.
Just need to change their terms.
Did we
I think.
approve that last month?
No, we made a recommendation to change the
I
terms.
would move that we, on the advice of the prosecuting attorney, that the people serving on the County Road Commission, specifically James Maitland's term, be corrected to end January 1st, 2013. David Taylor's term be corrected to end January 1st, 2015. And Carl Brown's term be corrected to end January 1st, 2017.
Support.
We've moved and supported. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passes. The next one is,
That brings us to the one that I pulled, Mr. Chairman, in regard to the wastewater treatment plant. And in discussion with Dennis, and we've determined, or he's determined, and I just wrote along, that the savings to the municipalities of the city of Traverse City, the township of Acme, the Charter Township of East Bay, Charter Township of Elmwood, Charter Township of Garfield, and the Township of Peninsula have changed because of the interest rate of what the bonds are currently, reminding everyone that this may still change again because the interest rates that we're paying on the bonds are going up. So we may not see quite as much savings as what we had originally anticipated seeing, but we are still recognized as savings for these 6 entities of $1,596,671.25. This is not county money. This is money that is being saved for the townships and the city of Traverse City by Grand Traverse County by us handling the bonding for this project.
I don't think it says the amount that is savings is in the resolution, is it?
No, it doesn't, but it is considerably different from what we discussed last week at Ways and Means, so
So we
we
didn't
wanted to
really
make
need to
sure
pull
that
it. We
that
can
number
just go ahead and approve it. Motion to approve the resolution.
Support.
been moved and supported. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Number 47 on page 215, the intergovernmental agreement for the senior center management. I pulled that because I want to vote against it. And the reason is because I have heard nothing from them people about plans for the senior centers around the county. There's several of them. There's one in Kingsley, there's one in Fife Lake, and there's one in Interlaken. Unfortunately, the one in Interlaken, all the people got too old and most of them died, so it's not very active right now, but it's there, the building's there, and I was disappointed that I didn't hear any better plans for what's going to go on out there, so.
Did you call the Commission on Aging or the Senior Center and ask them what their plans are? I thought they had meetings around the county.
When we met with them.
I would move that we approve the interim intergovernmental agreement for senior center management.
Second.
And I would say that if you are concerned about that, the best way to resolve it is to put it under the county and let the county start opening the senior centers that were promised
Then I would do it.
when we passed the
Then I would do
village
it.
last fall.
Then I would do a lot of things different, like sell that expensive bayfront property. Anyway, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Should have,
Roll call vote.
yeah, you should have had a roll call.
Dickie wants to
Mr.
vote no.
Thomas.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Stepka?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes. Yes.
Hooper?
Yes.
Friend?
Yes.
Fleece?
Yes.
Thomas?
No. Did I lose?
All right.
Okay,
52.
52,
Jim.
page 220.
As a member of the public, Jim.
Yes, Mr. McGee pulled it. Come on down.
I'm here. You guys are really funny tonight. Entertaining. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. Let me start off by saying that I'm the incoming chair of the board for the Commission on Aging for the next year. And at the last executive committee meeting, we had decided that we had sent a letter indicating our concerns about the board appointments. And so we said, you know, they've heard from us, they understand our concerns. And then this morning, I get the agenda for the Board of Commissioners meeting, and I see that it's been slipped into the consent calendar. And to my knowledge, to this date, we have not gotten a really solid answer as to why it was necessary to change fire, if you will, volunteers. And I should remind you that all members of the Commission on Aging Board are 100% volunteers. They receive no compensation whatsoever. They are entitled, but they take none. They don't get mileage reimbursement. They don't take any per diem. So all of these people, in fact, are true volunteers, and they've served well this community without any hidden interests that I'm aware of. But nevertheless, for whatever reasons, and I would address this directly to Beth and to Mike and to, I guess, Larry, who were on the ad hoc committee, a decision was made to fire 2 of these board members. And you just have to think about that for a second. Here are volunteers that have served 6 and 7 years on a board, and we've had regular turnover of board meetings over the last year, 2 years, whatever it is, and it just happens automatically. But yet, for some reason, without real clear explanation, other than they wanted to shake up the board, and frankly, I've heard that statement, but no one has ever complained to anybody in the time I've been on the board for the Commission on Aging about anything that the Commission on Aging has done. And I'm here tonight because of what I saw this morning when I looked at the report, because I had planned to come in here, but we had decided at the last executive committee meeting that we weren't going to say another word. We were just going to politely sit here. But I couldn't do it. And I came in basically yelling at my radio as I'm driving into the meeting tonight, thinking about, how does this kind of thing happen? Without explanation, without a clear explanation to a director that's charged with it. And she had no knowledge, by the way, that I was going to do this tonight. She knew about it 5 minutes before the meeting started, because she was convinced that, we were doing the right thing, and that was just to sit quietly and see if somebody brought the issue up and discussed it openly. But that hasn't happened. So I'm here to tell you that, what you have done is fine. You have the authority, certainly, to pick and choose the members of the boards of any of those people that work under your direction or under your fiduciary responsibilities. But I think that you have made a serious error in this situation. And the error is the matter of treatment of people that have volunteered completely and have given of their time and service, and no one has ever complained about anything I've not heard a single word of complaint about any of the policies or decisions that have been made by this board in the course of the time I've been there. So, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you go ahead and do what you have to do. But nevertheless, I think, it was handled poorly. And for the record, it needs to be recognized. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. I did have an opportunity to talk with Don Gressel last week. And even though he wants to be on the Commission on Aging, he said that he would, he could live without it. And I know he does a lot of work on the library board out in Interlochen. So I'm not going to say that, because he didn't come here and say that he would stand by, but yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, we interviewed the candidates for several boards. One of them happened to be Commission on Aging. And this is our recommendation. It's not based on anything personally. It's, the interview was conducted at a public meeting, open to the public. I believe Georgia was there. We made our recommendation at that meeting, and I don't know why we would change our recommendation. Now, what you're accusing us of, if you will, is doing something underhanded or in secret. It was a public meeting. It was held one floor up. We were there that morning, interviewed the people, and made our recommendation to the board. The board approved it, and tonight's the final approval. And I don't recall in the history of the board ever overturning a recommendation of an ad hoc committee in regards to appointments on the various committees. I used to chair before we had the arrangement, the first of this year, where we altered our boards, I chaired the committee that did all the interviews for a year, and there's a lot of things that we look at when we're interviewing people. There's nothing personal in it, but it would be like us going back, like Mr. Hooper here. He was defeated at the last primary, so he would go back to the voting people and say, now, what are you doing here? You know, let's rethink this and let's have another vote. America wasn't built that way. And so I would make the motion that we reappoint or appoint Sean Burt, Al Pedwaden, Melanie Stanton, Don Gresco, and Michelle Mercer to the 3-year term, January 1, 2011 through December 31st, 2013.
Commissioner, would you change that to approve
I would
the
also
resolution?
include the rest of the recommendations. Department of Human Services, reappointing Mary Morose to a 3-year term, November 1st, 2010 through October 31st, 2013. Veterans Affairs Administrative Committee, reappoint James Wagner to a 4-year term, January 1st, 2011 through December 31st, 2014. The Appeals Board for the Building Code, Soil Erosion, Health, and International Fire Code, reappoint and appoint Rick Skenzel, Angela Vasa, and Steve Steimel to a 4-year term, January 1st, 2011 through December 31st, 2014. Inspection Appeals Board, appoint or reappoint Bob Lako and John Boudet to a 4-year term, January 1st, 2011 through December 31st, 2014. Board of Public Works, appoint Jim Wright to the citizen position for a 3-year term, January 1st, 2011 through December 31st, 2013, and reappoint Chuck Korn to the Urban Township as the water sewer representative for a 2nd year, January 1st, 2011 through December 31st, 2011. Resource Recovery Council, reappoint John Cartwright to a 3-year term, January 1st, 2011 through December 31st, 2013.
Support.
Been supported. Discussion. Beth?
Mr. McGee? First of all, just to let you know, you mentioned that this was slipped into the packet this evening. That indeed was not the case, as you may not be aware of, but the rest of the commission is. We had an ad hoc committee, as Commissioner Fleece pointed out. That recommendation was brought forward to, I believe, Resource Management Administration, one of our subcommittees, and forwarded to this Board of Commissioners meeting. So it is standard that it would be in the consent calendar. And I do appreciate the service of the volunteers that are on the Commission on Aging. They are appointed officials, regardless of whether or not they accept a per diem or take it or don't. I would maintain to you that even lot of the other appointments that we make on boards where they do accept the $35 per diem, that's pretty much a volunteer position too, for the amount of time that a lot of those appointees put into those positions. So, again, just reiterating a little bit of what Larry mentioned was, we did this at a posted public ad hoc committee, door open upstairs, interviewed, and we did deliberate quite a bit actually on this, because, you know, we again, as I mentioned at one of the subcommittee meetings when we looked at this recommendation, we were trying to balance, you know, respecting the service that our elected or our appointed officials give to the county, as well as the interest that's created, the interest that other individuals have who are willing and wanting to serve on boards that have backgrounds that can benefit the county as well too. So we actually had quite a bit of discussion, particularly on the Commission on Aging, and I think it was a beneficial discussion, and we came to this agreement, and I, as well as Larry just mentioned, would stand by the recommendation. I will say, though, however, we handled this probably not as well as we could have when we first received the letter from the Commission on Aging. When we considered this at the first committee meeting where it was forwarded, we as commissioners probably should have directed a letter back to the Commission on Aging saying that we appreciate their concerns, but this was the approach that we were taking, was to adopt that recommendation and forward it on to the Board of Commissioners. So my sincere apology on behalf of the Commission for not accurately communicating that to you.
Mr. McGee, we also had people like Reverend Bond that wasn't recommended for reapproval or appointment, and we did advise them to make sure that they kept their applications current, because people die, people move, people resign off boards for a variety of reasons, and certainly we're well aware of the Reverend's good work he's done on the Commission on Aging Board, and we're in contact with Georgia also. So I would hope that, Reverend, that you do keep that thing active and not take this personally, because it certainly isn't personal.
I guess, you know, as one of the commissioners that chairs one of these other ad hoc committees, or has on multiple occasions done these interviews, we've been very fortunate of late to have very qualified applicants to all of our boards. You know, and I look at these 5 people that are reappointed, or are being appointed. 3 of them are reappointments. 2 of them are new individuals. So, you know, we you know, I don't know if it's called shake up the board or what it is, but it truly, you know, we are trying to appoint the most qualified, most productive members to the boards that we can possibly do. This isn't the only board that we did not reappoint a seated member. You know, I can think of at least one other one, the Airport Commission. I know we didn't. You know, we try very earnestly to appoint the most qualified cross-section of our community that we believe is going to be beneficial to this community on all of our boards. And it absolutely is not personal. So.
Just as a side note, I mean, I know it is always a challenge to go through this process, and in terms of recommending applicants. And previous to this board's 2-year cycle, the Board of Commissioners had a 12-year term limit on all of our appointments per board, but they could apply for another board. And we just went through, I would say, most of the year discussing our policy, you know, should we have a policy? And to Commissioner Friend's credit, she brought it up that we should have a policy on appointments, and we did put an ad hoc committee together, and we just completed what I think is a good recommendation. And, you know, one of the challenges and difficulties is how do you tell someone who's been here a long time, has done a great job, that, you're not going to get reappointed. So back then, we just said, at least at a minimum, we're going to have a 12-year term, and we're going to consider this 12-year term tonight, because it is so hard to tell somebody that's been here for a long time that, we need to rotate and do people on and give other people in the community an opportunity. And I will hope that and encourage the Reverend to keep his application on file, so when another opening occurs, we can again take a look at him.
I think that was well put, Commissioner Inman. I was part of the ad hoc meeting team, so to speak, and it was a difficult decision for me. The people that we replaced had given long-term service and had added value to the commission, but the new members that we added to, I think we strongly felt had very strong and unique skills, and I think that was a factor in adding them to the commission. But having said that, I think I do value Jim's comments, and I think that he's appropriate to voice his concerns, and I would, I guess, urge other committee members at any time to do so, because I think that we should hear those concerns and make sure we were right in the decision that we made. So I do appreciate Jim's remarks tonight.
Anyone else? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next one, page 221. Very next one.
Yeah, on page 53, if I could defer that with new business item number 1, I would appreciate that, so we can go, probably going to be the next thing anyways, but
What are we doing?
since we don't have any other
Okay,
unfinished business, but
we'll move it to new business.
So we're pulling this to move it to...
We're going to move it with new business to discuss it with
New
background
business.
checks.
okay.
Okay, dropping down to new business.
under new business, Mr. Chairman, if I could speak for a moment on this. Did I chair this committee? I guess I did.
Yeah, you did.
I guess I did. Gotta remember if I did. I do one of those. But in any event, we ended up having a meeting on the appointments policy under item number 53, and it went pretty much for the most of the year. And then we got Bob Cooney involved in terms of the technicality of what legally we can and can't do in terms of requirements, disclosures. And Bob had indicated to us in the latter part of the meetings that it would be better to keep the appointment policy more generic, more general. Don't get overly specific on the requirements of certain boards over others. And then at the end, we had the actual policy, and attached to the policy is the application that we had looked at in terms of various questions, and one of them happened to be the issue of the question of, have you been convicted of a criminal offense or crime? And we looked at various other counties, not only in the state of Michigan, but outside the state of Michigan, that we could find on their webpage. And there were a number of counties, both out of state and in-state, and I think 3 of them in-state, that had the question of the criminal, have you been convicted of a criminal crime? And I believe there were 2 counties that in Michigan actually do a criminal background check with the Michigan, and I'm not sure who they do it with, but Bob had given us a memo on that under new business item number 1 in terms of what we do for our employees here at the county. So, my personal feeling to the committee, the 3-member committee, was I at that point was I had questioned whether if it was absolutely necessary not to require that of all the applicants, that they would go under a criminal background check. and in that case, they would be required to sign a disclosure form giving us permission to do so. And I know that one particular board, we were advised that under the Commission on Aging, if a board member does go into a member of the public's home, then we do a full criminal background check, which I believe is appropriate. To my knowledge, we've never had an issue with an appointee that we have interviewed and put on a board and commission in Grand Traverse County. And, you know, I guess I understand the question of whether we should or should not. Some of my minor concerns is that, you know, I don't want to have this get out and have the people all fired up about applying for a position within Grand Traverse County on the board and commission and find out we're going to do a complete, you know, criminal, state police, FBI, whatever it's going to be, driving record, got a speeding ticket, and it's all going to be, although it is public information, it could be acquired, but it would also be part of the application, and I was not at that point comfortable that as a part of the appointment process and interview process, that information would be disclosed, available to the public, available to the press, and if our appointees are granted or not granted, their full driving record and everything else, speeding records and everything else would be part of the article that potentially could be in a newspaper that would really, you know, in some cases, detract from our ability to have people come in and apply. So I can't tell you, you know, I'm just telling you that I have just a little bit of a concern about it. But I guess for those folks that do believe it's an absolute must, I guess I understand that we should know all about our appointees, and you know, we could be potentially embarrassed by someone that has a serious criminal background that we appointed on a board and commission, so it goes both ways. So I asked the committee if we could bring it up for discussion and get some direction from the full board as to how they felt about it before we ended up adopting the actual policy on the board, you know, the board policy regarding appointments. So I just bring that out as comments. Mr. Chairman, anybody want to make any remarks on it?
Do you have any remarks, anything you want to say about it?
No.
Larry?
On the application, have you ever been convicted of a criminal offense? The felony, absolutely. I think the misdemeanor, we perhaps should say except traffic. For example, if you ran a criminal or a driver's records check on me that went way back, you would find out that I'd probably been or pled guilty to 8 misdemeanors. You know, speeding, 10 over, loud muffler. Those were all misdemeanors until about 15 years ago when they became civil infractions. So anybody
They didn't have
that
mufflers
has,
on Model Ts, Larry.
yeah, so anybody that has any age to them would have to answer that if they received a traffic ticket. Yes, and I don't think we're so much interested in misdemeanor traffic citations. As far as the background checks, I think that everybody should be subject to a background check to make sure we're not putting a person, we are unknowingly putting a person or appointing a person onto a board where there could be some serious repercussions. So I think that we should run the background. Like, for example, if you run a background on me, criminal background, it's going to come back nothing. You know, if you run a driving records check, yep, you got probably 8 misdemeanors for the minor violations for traffic. But the average person probably that we deal with or appoint, you know, wouldn't fear that at all. As far as the media, there isn't much they can talk about if it came back no criminal record. So, and there are times when people are convicted of a crime when they're very young. And if it's been a period of time, they've led a very fruitful life, they're wanting to give back to the community, I think the board would overlook something like that. And I don't think it's an embarrassment to the applicant. Shouldn't be. So I would be an advocate of definitely having the background checks, because there's some sleepers out there, and I wouldn't want to be in a position of recommending or voting to put anybody on any board that perhaps didn't belong there because of some criminal activity in their background.
I was on this ad hoc committee also. One of the things we were struggling with was, if we did a criminal background check, how extensive would it be? You know, because it went all the way from, well, and again, it's detailed by, you know, Mr. Cooney in the memo, but it went all the way from just, you know, checking records in this, you know, circuit court and district court, to spending money and doing a nationwide search, and we weren't sure how extensive it should be, and so forth. And the fact that there was the question on the application form, you know, so obviously what we would miss if we didn't have a background check was somebody who lied about that on the application, which is certainly a possibility, don't get me wrong, but I don't know how much impact that would have, obviously, depending on
The
what
background
the crime
checks I'm
was.
talking about, and I'm sure Mr. Cooney would be familiar with them, police officers run on a daily basis, particularly if they have reason to. They don't run them on everybody, but you run them in the computer. There's one that does a statewide, and really what it's doing, it's looking for adjudicated offenses that the person's been convicted of. And even as good as our systems are, of course, today they're much better because of computerization. But in the old days, I've seen the time where we ran a criminal records check and it came back nil, and the court hadn't reported it to the state authorities or the federal authorities, depending on the crime. But I would recommend just the state and the FBI. And it'll only come back on adjudicated things, and it's a simple procedure to run. It just takes a couple minutes. You have to have the person's permission. And, you know, like I said, I would think the majority of the people are going to come back nil and no anyway, so.
So the purpose of the ad hoc committee was twofold. One, it was from a recommendation from a while ago with LNA to take a look at the appointment policy. And the second one was direction from this board to take a look at the application, and do you want a question regarding any conviction of a criminal offense. So the committee basically has recommended to you the resolution in response to the request from LNA. And the thing that is really kind of up in the air for this commission is the application. So they are together, but they are separate as well. So I would make a motion to approve the resolution for establishment of policy and procedures for appointments to boards, commissions, committees, and authorities by the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissions.
Is there support?
I'll support.
Been moved and supported. Further discussion?
I thought I read this thing a couple times, but the actual policy and procedure does not talk about the requirement.
No, that's just on this.
It's just on the application.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Okay, all right. I'm fine with that.
Anybody else? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion passes. Now, you've got this.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the application as is outlined, with the exception that in regard to have you ever been convicted of a criminal offense, felony, misdemeanor, that it just simply say, have you ever been convicted of a felony? If so, explain. You know, I'm pretty sure that I'm not, you know, similar to Larry, I'm not sure that my traffic record doesn't have a few misdemeanors in it somewhere along the way, but it's been a lot of miles on the road, and, you know, I haven't had one in a long time, but that doesn't mean if you ran a background check, you wouldn't find it.
The cops around who used to call me Quickie Dicky.
So are we saying then that we're running background checks or we're
That
not running background
we
checks? or
ask
just
if they've ever been
self-reporting?
connected. Well, I'm approving the application and asking them for a felony. I think there's two questions here. One, whether we ask them on the application, and secondly, whether or not we do the application, or do an actual background check.
Because the
I'll support
application
the motion.
actually,
We'll get-
if we do the background
we're not
check, we
supporting
would
the motion.
include in this verbiage
Somewhere
authority
in
to
the
do the
discussion.
background check, which is not there now.
I don't think,
Okay,
So the motion is approve the application with the verbiage, have you ever been convicted of a felony?
over
Okay.
felony.
One of the things that came up in the committee was that, and I think Mike
Yeah, we
might have
talked
brought
about
this up,
this, yeah.
is that there are some significant offenses under misdemeanor.
That's true.
That would,
That's true. And I think you need to look for everything. There are serious misdemeanor assault cases. There are criminal sexual conduct misdemeanor cases, serious larceny and theft-related misdemeanors. So I think you really have to look for everything. And
Or do you simply say other than traffic? Or do you include traffic?
or what if you only go back 20 years? Is there a time limit?
Well, no, I think you ought to go except traffic, because the only traffic today that are misdemeanors are financial responsibility laws, which is insurance, and driving,
there's operating while intoxicated, driving with a suspended
or driver's
license,
license violation.
leaving the scene of an accident.
But still, I don't know that being convicted of drunk driving should preclude a person from applying for a position, or,
And it may not, but it would be up to the interview committee to, place a weight on that and decide whether that, bears on whether the person is appointed or not.
well, I still think that we need to say except for traffic, because people that are 25, 30 years old, they can check the box, no. And anybody above that doesn't remember or doesn't consider the loud muffler a misdemeanor would be misrepresenting themselves.
Bob, do you have a recommendation, hearing what you're, listening to what the commissioner's comments are, what would be your recommendation for the question on the application in trying to weed out, someone running a stop sign or going above the speed limit versus some of the more, critical misdemeanors? What would you recommend for that verbiage?
Well, I guess I'm not seeing so much the importance of the wording of the question on the application if you're going to run the background check anyway, because you're going to have that information. They're not going to separate out traffic misdemeanors from non-traffic. And so I would request that the board clarify which type of background check they want to run. The type of background check Commissioner Fleece was talking about earlier is the more extensive background check through the Cogent system or Michigan State Police, and there's an expense for that of $60. On the first page of my memo, I outlined what Human Resources does on all of our new hires. Those are free checks, although they're not as extensive, they're not as accurate, or they're not necessarily going to be as accurate as the background check through the Michigan State Police or Cogent systems. Probably the biggest difference would be that you would miss out-of-state convictions. I'm guessing that most of the people appointed to our boards and committees are longtime residents of the area, so maybe that's not so much of a concern. You can run single-state inquiries without doing the more extensive Michigan State Police background check, but you have to do it state by state, and so if you know the previous addresses where an applicant lived, you could run those state checks and
It would seem to me we don't need to have any more scrutiny than we would to have anybody we're hiring to work in the county. I would think that somebody on the board, if we just did this similar, same background checks we did for a new hire, that would be adequate.
I mean, yeah, I don't know why it would be greater.
Yeah.
I guess to answer Commissioner Friend's question, I think it's almost better to not ask the question, just inform the applicant that there will be a background check done if that's what this board desires to do.
Will there need to be a release on that, Bob, then, from the
There would
applicant?
have to be a release done for the state police or Cogent Systems background checks. In fact, with the state police, they actually send the report to the applicant. They won't send it to the board, but the board can get the report back from Cogent Systems. With the other checks that Human Resources performs, I think the best procedure there is to inform the applicant that we are performing those checks, but you don't need their written consent to do that.
And then if you decide to do that, my suggestion would be that what you do is you pick your candidate, and then you inform them of that, or we would inform them on your behalf. We would run the check on that individual. If anything came back, unless you wanted to separate something out, unless you wanted to say to us, anything other than speeding, we want to know about it. And then it gets sent back to the committee for reconsideration and decision based on that. If it's a speeding thing, we would process it under normal circumstances or whatever parameters you would set. So we just do it on one candidate as opposed to going multiple candidates. I think that
Only after they're appointed. So you
only after you're recommending them, but before they're brought to the county board.
And if they find anything, then it goes back to the
Back to the committee, yeah.
Right. And that's the way we discussed it at the meeting. And additionally, we did discuss, but I don't think we reached a resolution, discussed not even having the question on the form, because we're going to run the check anyway.
Right.
So I don't even think we need to have the question. I agree with Bob on that.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think we should do away with the question, have it itemized, have it written in the consent and certification where they sign it below, and then obviously we would have, this similar form as the
It would be the
employees have.
form.
Well, Bob, I think is saying that's not necessary, though. Right, Bob? If we don't do the Michigan,
Depends on whether you do the.
if we do the same
Cogent
thing we
check.
do for employees, that form would not be necessary? Or do you still recommend it?
Probably a good idea to do it anyway.
Then we could do that on your behalf after you select the candidate.
Probably should do it for employees, too, but
Well, that
There's an
form is
interesting-
completed by new hires.
Oh, we do that.
Yeah, this is,
The consent
the
form.
more stringent check?
No,
The form.
not the more,
You're talking
only
about the disclosure to the
the
employee.
checks on the first page of the memo.
So-
iChat, Otis, Secretary of State, and the Michigan State Police online.
So Bob, what you're saying is that even though consent is not required, the employee or the employee applicant is aware that a check is going to be done.
Yes. So I think it's a good form.
So,
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to do the checks, I think we need to advise people that we're going to do it.
Certainly.
so what we would do is when a committee recommends a candidate, we would then immediately send that candidate the consent form and ask them to come in and sign the consent form, which would then notify them of the fact that there's going to be a check done. And then if there's anything that comes up on it, we'd bring it back to that committee. Otherwise, we'd report that out with the recommendation that there was no findings.
would there not as well be a reason on the consent certification to put on here that I understand if I am, chosen as a recommended candidate for this, that a check would be done, a background check would be done?
Yeah, I think that's.
So that way they understand from the very beginning.
So just have them all fill out, everybody you interview, fill out a consent.
No.
No, just do what Beth said.
Right, here.
Just let them know on the-
Oh, on the
Like that for
application.
past 2 years?
On the application?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So we formed a motion?
Yeah, well, we have a motion on the floor
Yeah, we have a motion.
for the, have you been convicted of a felony on the application? That's
Which
the
is
motion on
actually
the floor.
contrary to what we're talking
Right.
about.
Exactly. but
Exactly.
I
there's a
will
motion on the
withdraw
floor.
that motion.
Okay.
I will withdraw my second.
Okay.
Got it, Bonnie?
Now can we have a motion?
To do what we just said.
Well, I think if I could, I think the motion would be to remove that language from the application, to add to the bottom of the application notification that they may be required to have, if they're chosen, they may be required to have a background check done. And then, well, I think that would do it then, wouldn't it?
And then as well have this form.
Yes, for selected, recommended candidates.
And then, okay. And then it'll be up to the committee, if information comes back, it'll be up to the committee to weigh it and see if it changes their opinion.
Yes. And for the motion maker, it would be the simplified one that we use for county employees. That would be the
Sure.
process, okay.
So you're pointing at me, so I'm assuming that I must be making this motion as Dennis
Yes.
stated it, correct?
Somebody ought to make one if we're going to have one.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I would move that as outlined here in this discussion, that we modify the application for appointments to Grand Traverse County Commissions, or appointments committees, and note on those that a background check will be done. And
If
that
they are.
background check, if they are the selected candidate, and that background check will be limited to the same background check that we use for county employees.
And we would remove the question from
And
the...
remove the
And
question.
we remove the question from the application.
Okay, all right.
Is there support?
Support.
It's your choice. Further discussion?
Bob, if the motion is approved, when we go out to advertise for positions that are currently open that we're receiving applications for, do we need to make a disclosure in the advertisement that applicants may be subject to a background check?
It's up to you. I mean, when they fill out the application, that
gonna say-
language will be on the application, and I believe the application is online, so.
I'm guessing if they see it on the application and they don't want the background check, they won't submit the
Just back down
application.
from right then and there.
In addition to, after this, after we vote on this motion, I'll make a motion to just have Bob add verbiage in the policy that shows that step.
Okay. All right. So we would amend the
Policy we just
one that we
passed
just passed.
5 minutes ago.
All right, okay.
All right. So we're done with that one.
No, we got to vote.
We better vote.
Oh, we didn't vote on it?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same? No, we didn't.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we would amend the previously approved policy, Grand Traverse Board of Commissioners appointed officials' policies and procedures for application, appointment, and conduct, and direct staff to add the steps of the background review and either forwarding that to the Board of Commissioners or back to the ad hoc committee. I think that would go in section 4.0.
Yeah, if we could have Bob do that, would be great.
Yeah.
Is
Second.
Board- You seconded it?
Yeah.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion passes. Okay. Now we gotta go back and take care of item 53.
Yeah, we already did that. Yeah, she already approved that. She already made a motion.
Okay,
Previously.
I didn't remember, it was so long.
Now we have the county administrator up here, doesn't it? Or
Now, judges' compensation.
Okay. I, along with Commissioner Fleece and Richardson, met with the judges to talk about getting them to participate in the 4% copay for health insurance in 2011 and 6% in 2012. This would be in line with all of the negotiated contracts that we've been able to settle in this year. That would leave only Grand Traverse County Commissioners paying a different copay than the rest of our settled contracts. As you know, we pay 10%, but we are recommending and have negotiated with all of the other entities or other groups to pay 4% in 2011 and 6% in 2012. The judges have agreed to do that. In exchange, what they've asked for is a fixed rate of compensation for travel. You know, as you can imagine, their travel varies depending on which judge it is, and you know, how many cases are in Antrim County, how many cases are in Leelanau County, and they run around. So what we discussed is similar to what we have in the other elected officials, having a flat $1,500 car allowance. We don't bother with any more mileage reports. Dean doesn't have to do mileage checks every month for them. It's a flat $1,500 a year car allowance, and in exchange, they've agreed to pay 4% health insurance copay in 2011 and a 6% health insurance copay in 2012.
And for clarification, would I assume that that's if they fill out the wellness report the way all employees do, and if they don't, it would be, instead of 4, it would be 6, and instead of 6 in the second year, it'd be 8.
Right. It'd be in line with the contracts. What we've talked to them about was trying to get a uniform contract. And as we were in the process of negotiating with both the circuit court and district court employees, it made sense to say, you know, how can we ask your employees to agree with this if we can't get the department heads to? And the judges were pretty receptive. I've had good meetings with judges and I've had bad meetings with judges, and I think all in all, this was a very good meeting. It came out very well.
So prior to this, they used to do mileage?
I'm sorry?
Prior to this, they used to just do mileage?
They used to get mileage.
What did that run around roughly, a year per judge, or?
It varied. Some judges were $350 to $370 that didn't put in a lot of mileage, up to over $1,000.
Mr.
It should
Chairman.
also be noted that the judges from the county side have not received a pay increase in salary since the year 2000.
Right. Mr. Chairman, I would move that we authorize a car allowance for the district and circuit court judges, the probate judge, of $1,500 per year. In exchange, they will be paying a 4% and 6% copay on their health insurance, or the 6 and 8, depending on whether or not they apply for the wellness, as per all other Grand Traverse County contracts negotiated.
Is there support?
Support.
Been moved and supported. Discussion?
Quick question. Was there a second meeting that involved only the circuit judges with this?
No.
No?
Judge Power came and met with Dennis and Dean about it, but there was not a meeting that I participated in.
Yeah, I brought it up with them when we were talking about labor negotiations as another issue.
Okay.
And then they had agreed to call the other judges. I assume that meant sitting judges, I'm not
Right.
sure. But they called the other district judges and probate judges, and then I got a message back late Wednesday that they were in agreement.
Okay.
And just for clarification, so that everyone's clear, it's with the same, this would be the same way we would treat the other elected people who have car allowances. That's for their routine travel within their jurisdiction, which in this case would be a district or a circuit. And then anything outside of that, like if they went to a conference in Lansing or Detroit, we would still pay mileage for that or reimburse for a rental car at whatever rate is less, just like we would other employees.
You know, I remember us talking about car allowances like a year and a half ago when it first came up. Wasn't kind of the connotation with that was we were trying to get away from it? And since I've been here, we've like expanded the number of car allowances. Okay, I just want to make sure I had that right.
A quick question for Bob. Should I abstain from voting on this?
Probably be a good idea.
I think I should. It's not official yet, but I think I might.
Just a little question.
Anybody else? By roll call.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Stepka?
Abstain.
Richardson?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Hooper?
Yes.
Friend?
No.
Fleece?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes. All right, one more item.
But just like Al Schneider, I can't blame him for negotiating that.
One more item. I have to pass out here the 2010 Administrator's Evaluation for your review. unless you want to talk some about it now, but
If I could just make a remark, Mr. Chairman.
go ahead.
Dick and I had an opportunity to take a quick look at the, along with administration, predominantly Katie, not Dennis, and we did the same thing as we did in previous years, is that we took the form and we took a, you'll find in your packet, I hope it's in the packet here, yes, on the second page and behind here. Each one of the categories that were graded, we just left Commissioner 1, 2, 3, but you're free to disclose to the public or anybody else, which one you were, obviously. But it does give the breakout of the commissioners that did respond. And as in last year, the average did rank out at an 8, which the performance evaluation form shows as exceeding performance requirements as an average. So Dennis can use this as a tool moving forward in his discussion and with commissioners for the 2011-2012 year in terms of areas he would like to address with the board at that time. But overall, I was real pleased with the evaluation. Average at the end of 8, it does, in my mind, consistently show that, Dennis is doing a very good job for us, great job for us, and I'm proud to have him as our county administrator.
I like this comment that Dennis is most likely the most knowledgeable county administrator in the county.
I would hope so.
I think, we are a vacation site,
Doesn't it say country?
Should say country.
Oh, is it country?
Yep. That's
Oh, it is
probably
country.
me.
Oh, I like county better.
Well,
Okay.
it's funnier, yeah.
That's probably
They
me.
have remedial reading courses over the junior high school.
Also attached are the comments made by all the commissioners in the written form that you can take and read if you wish.
Beth?
You had one commissioner, I'm just trying to determine, we have one missing, is that because one wasn't filed, right?
Correct.
Okay, because I didn't include numbers with mine this year, so there are numbers obviously included in here that shouldn't be. These are last year's numbers. Should take those out.
We will visit with Katie tomorrow on that.
Okay.
Because I asked her, because your form was different, I mean, you did it a different way.
Yeah.
And I asked her if you did it on a scale of 1 to 10, and did you complete, and I asked her if she completed it.
She would be
In a
right in
similar
that what I did was I included 2009 and then updated for 2010. But when I updated for 2010, I didn't use numbers. I felt they were pretty arbitrary and pretty useless from
Oh, I'm
last
sorry.
year.
Okay.
So
All right.
you're probably skewing, you should just take them out.
Okay. We can do the average for, 7, if you'd like.
Maybe she did.
No, she did the average for 8.
She did that, well, maybe,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it would skew it upward. So,
okay.
all right.
Anything else on
Anything
this?
else? Okay.
Okay, second opportunity for public comment. Hearing none? Do we have any reason to go into closed session?
No.
Notices and announcements.
Notices? I noticed there's nothing to announce, but
Well, we'll deal with that at the
Well,
organization.
we have an organizational meeting at 8
January 3rd.
a.m. on January 3rd.
8 a.m. Right, yeah, I assume so. Okay, that's it.
nothing else?
Motion to, go ahead.
I would like to thank the 3 commissioners, that's their last meeting tonight. Hooper, Stepka, and Friend. I've enjoyed your participation on the board. I think you made worthwhile efforts, and I'm kind of sorry to see you go, including you, Mike. But I personally would just like to thank you for a job well done.
Ditto.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the 3.
Now,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn, for your support.
Support.
Happy New Year's, everybody, and I'm gonna use my hammer.
All right.
Mike, it's been great working with you.
I really thought we were on a roll. We out of here at 8 o'clock. Yeah. Kind of got all bogged down.
It's been.